Welcome, folks. Glad you're here because somebody's got to keep tabs on the Democrats while they trip over their own policies like a three-legged race with no finish line. On today's episode, we have Gavin Newsom, the slick-haired illusionist who swears world leaders are laughing at Trump when really they're laughing at him for melting down over a hat. Yes, really, a hat. The man turned a ball cap into a full-blown therapy session. But let's kick things off with Democrat Communist Council member Imelda Padilla proudly bragging about chopping an affordable housing project here in LA from 6 stories down to 3 just to squeeze in some EV chargers. That's peak Democrat logic. Waste money, shrink solutions, and dress up failure as progress.
Are you focused on what will ultimately make California affordable for the people in your district?
Well, I am. By law, I really have no jurisdiction anymore because it's an ED1, right? But we still, as a team, got together with the developer, the high school across the street, other stakeholders, and instead of building something that was potentially 6 stories, we got it down to 3 stories. And we also got the developer to also work with us to make sure that it helps the families of the area. We also said, instead of a ton of office space, we do want you to also incorporate a few more parking lots and EV chargers. So yeah, there's some developers that have built housing where it looks like a big...
Did this chick even understand the question he asked, or is she just objectively retarded? You could see it in John Lovett's face. She literally said the exact opposite of what he was asking her. He pressed her on affordability, and she comes back bragging about cutting a 6-story housing project down to 3 and sprinkling in some EV chargers. She talks about it like it's some great development. Like she just won a prize for innovation. Oh, congratulations. Fewer homes and more Tesla parking spots. That's Democrat math, folks. Less equals more. Shrink the solution, then sell it as progress. Now, look, I'm going to be honest for a second. From my perspective, less government building is usually a good thing. I'd much rather see private enterprise and the free market handle housing than bureaucrats with clipboards and subsidies. But that's not what she's saying. She's selling the idea that cutting the size of a housing project and throwing in luxury-style amenities like EV chargers is somehow a victory for working families. That's delusion, not development. And you can see it in the faces of the people in the room, these communists. John Lovett, and a Democrat communist masquerading as a late-night pundit on this dumb podcast. And Anthony Weiner, of all people. Anthony freaking Weiner is shocked. When you've gone so far off the cliff that these guys look at you in disbelief, you're basically Wile E. Coyote holding an anvil in midair. And this is the bigger story here, folks. Democrats love to package these things as affordable housing victories, but the record is ugly. In California, billions have been poured into housing programs over the last decade. And what do we have to show for it? The state auditor found that one of the main programs spent over $2 billion and produced fewer than 20,000 units, with costs soaring past $500,000 per unit, sometimes even $750,000 to $1 million per apartment in Los Angeles. That's not affordability. That's money laundering dressed up as compassion. Developers, nonprofits, and politically connected contractors get rich while the homeless population and the working class keeps getting grifted. Let's take this a step further and look at Gavin Newsom's infamous Project Home Key, which he touted as revolutionary, but it's riddled with waste and corruption. We've got several examples of nonprofits like Step Up on 2nd and Shangri-La Industries taking hundreds of millions, failing to deliver promised units, and in some cases outright defaulting on projects. We're talking abandoned motels, inflated contracts, and executives pocketing cash while people sleep on the sidewalks outside, all on the taxpayer dime. This is what happens when affordable housing becomes an industry. It's less about homes and more about funneling taxpayer dollars into the hands of well-connected players. Here's a cultural angle. Democrats keep pretending that symbols equal solutions. It's never about solving the actual crisis. It's about signaling to their base that they care. EV chargers, rainbow flags, sustainability buzzwords, and endless public hearings. It's all they do. Meanwhile, the people who actually need housing, working families, mentally ill, the homeless, they all get less. Less housing, less accountability, less opportunity. What they do is get more government, more corruption, more taxes, all while the middle class gets ransacked for their tax dollars and the quality of life gets completely gutted because it doesn't go into the services that are supposed to make this state great. Padilla said here isn't just one clueless LA council member rambling off script. It's a window into the Democrat playbook. They destroy supply and then pretend demand doesn't exist. They shrink projects and call it progress. They turn housing into a slush fund for consultants and nonprofits, while the communities they claim to serve keep spiraling downward. In fact, the die-hard Democrat communists like Lovett and Weiner look stunned. Tells you everything you need to know about how far off the Democrat Party has gone and is going. It looks like it's never going to stop, to be honest with you, because the mask keeps slipping, and at this point, even the choir is seeing the level of the con. And there's no greater con artist in the state of California than Gavin Newsom, who recently had a full-blown meltdown at this event he attended, which is honestly kind of hilarious and actually very concerning that this man is a current Democrat frontrunner for president.
I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of foreign leaders. I've had a chance
What's the
to visit
general? If not putting.
They're laughing behind his back. That did not happen. I'm making this clear.
They're telling.
Do not conflate what I just said with the
Yeah.
meeting I had with the Denmark delegation.
It wasn't them. Other foreign leaders. Are
I've had dozens and dozens.
Dozens and
Ambassadors
dozens.
Met with him.
What are they saying?
They're laughing behind his back. He's being played everywhere.
Oh my God, what a loser.
It's an embarrassment.
Is it? If you trust anything Greasy Gavin ever says, first off, you're a rube. You're going to get hosed. This man is an expert con artist. And frankly, I don't care what any foreign politician thinks about America. I don't have time for a foreigner's opinion of our country. Do I care if they're laughing at Trump? No. Clearly, Trump is getting amazing results. He's closing terrific deals that previous administrations couldn't even dream of. Actually, in Biden's case, he was asleep half the time, so he was probably dreaming of them. But ultimately, I don't want our president to be worried about what foreign leaders feel about them. That's the kind of soft-minded fluff Gavin is selling when he whines at that foreign leaders are laughing behind his back. What he's telegraphing is this. If he were president, he'd prioritize foreign popularity, sell out Americans just to get a thumbs up at cocktail parties. Is that the kind of leader you want? A guy who equates affection from nations hostile to America with leadership? That's the real embarrassment in this situation. Now let's talk facts for a second, though, because clarity is everything. So far in Trump's second term, the American economy is showing surprising resilience. GDP growth in the second quarter was revised upward to 3.3%, rebounding from a 0.5% contraction in the first quarter. Despite the drag of tariffs, consumer spending picked up to 1.6%, and real final sales rose to 1.9%, according to the Associated Press. That's not accidental, folks. It's a result of tough negotiation and strategic positioning. So here's a bigger picture. This moment right here crystallizes a defining tension in America's political culture. On one side, you have leadership that claims to care about optics, identity, and virtue signaling. That's the Democrats. On the other side, you have results, even if delivered abrasively, and real economic leverage. Gavin's statement isn't just classless. It reveals the Democrats' current fixation on external validation and ideological purity over concrete achievements. He's showing you that for Democrats, identity politics and despairing rhetoric matter more than actual power or prosperity for the American people. They're not worried about your pocketbook, folks. They're worried about how they look to people outside the country.
I see the consequences of not just those threats from the administration, but the actions of this administration, more perhaps than any other governor in the United States, because I've seen the damage firsthand to communities, this economy, our reputation, to our allies, the world we're trying to build.
Dude?
This is simply the most destructive and damaging individual in my lifetime that happens to be the President of the United States, and I need to be held to a higher level of accountability as governor.
You can tell Gavin is terrified of Trump and how effective Trump is because no serious leader spends this much time trying to paint their opponent as the most damaging individual of my lifetime. What this really shows is a Democrat obsession with framing Trump not as a rival, but as an existential threat. A narrative they've leaned on for nearly a decade to cover for their own failures. Gavin talks about damage to communities, the economy, our reputation, yet this is the same man who burned through $25 billion on homelessness and managed to nearly double the problem. Contrast that with the Trump administration, which again is overseeing GDP growth back above 3% and steady improvements across every other economic metric. So all in all, the damage that Gavin is describing isn't Trump's, it's Gavin's own record.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election.
What? What?
You think for a second you want? I have 24 Trump 2028 hats.
Oh my God, Ed. It's
These
a meme.
folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
Don't give me. You don't. Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the house?
The fact that everybody in that room laughed when Gavin said what he said tells you everything you need to know about how nobody is buying into his theater of moral indignation. Everybody knows the Trump 2028 stuff is a joke. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you get it. The Trump 2028 hats, they're a meme. They're meant to be a joke. And the reason why they're funny is because people like Gavin are forced to perform outrage, or because unhinged Democrats react exactly how Gavin is reacting here in real life. That's what makes the gag work. And honestly, I don't even think Gavin himself believes it. Half the time I've seen him bring up the Trump 2028 hats, he's smirking or laughing through it because deep down he knows nobody is taking it seriously. The only reason it even lands in the discourse is because Democrats like him treat memes as if they're manifestos, which says more about their insecurity than it does about Trump's intentions. So in essence, this clip reveals the broader cultural trend that Democrats have trained themselves to panic over symbols and slogans, mistaking them for serious threats, while the rest of the country, left or right or otherwise, is increasingly in on the joke. And that's why the Democrat Party will keep losing, folks, because nobody wants to be outraged and triggered or even siding with that side the whole time. Nobody likes melodrama. People like just peace and love and laughter in their lives. Please stop being these woke scolds, in the words of Ben Shapiro.
Wake up.
To what?
You will lose your country.
What?
Again, it's not about Democrats.
It's not?
It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's
I'm absolutely
2028.
You've seen it. He's tried to steal the last election.
Oh,
He's trying to rig it in plain sight.
It's rich hearing Gavin say he's absolutely convinced there won't be an election in 2028 when this is the same guy who just spent $250 million of taxpayer money trying to undo the will of California voters by putting redistricting in this special election coming up. Twice now, Californians have voted to keep those maps in the hands of an independent commission and out of the hands of politicians. But Gavin wants the power back for himself so he can gerrymander and bully other states under the guise of saving democracy. That's the irony here. He lectures about elections being stolen while working overtime to rewrite the rules when they don't benefit him. It's a perfect snapshot of how Democrats operate in this moment, folks. Wrapping raw power grabs in apocalyptic language, insisting they're defending democracy while undermining it in practice. And it shows how the cultural narrative has shifted. Fear-mongering about Trump has become a shield, not just against accountability, but against any honest debate about federalism, which is what he's going up against with the redistricting thing, separation of powers, or the principle that voters, not politicians, should ultimately decide the future of their state. Look, at the end of the day, the question isn't just whether you agree or disagree with Gavin Newsom or Trump. It's whether you're willing to recognize how narratives are weaponized to shape what you believe about this country, your community, even yourself. Are you being asked to think or to feel, to weigh evidence or to surrender to fear? Every time the Democrats in charge turn politics into theater, they're betting that you'll accept the performance as truth. So the challenge is simple. Do you measure leadership by applause lines and headlines or by outcomes you can see in your own life? Because until more Americans demand substance over spectacle, the people in power, the Democrats in charge, will keep serving you the show and counting on you not to notice the puppet strings. You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.